I call to order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris this Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. The time is now 7:01 p.m. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required by law. Specifically, notice of this meeting was emailed to the Daily Record and the Morris Newsbee on January 3rd, 2025, and posted on the Township of Morris website. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available on morristownship.com under the Agenda Center. Certain portions of this meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel and/or other matters as outlined in the Sunshine Law. Notice to the members of the governing body and the township staff. Any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purpose of township business, and any communications are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel.
Here.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Here.
Mr. Ravitz.
Here.
Mr. Jonnada.
Here.
Mayor Guariglia.
Here. Please rise and join me if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 19th, 2025 meeting, closed and regular sessions?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have two proclamations on our agenda tonight, and I would now like to please call up to the podium to do our first proclamation on honoring public health and school nurses. Our public health nurse, Kathy Whitehead, and Carolyn Erickson from the Morris School District Nursing Coordinator. And what? Oh, and Liz too.
Oh.
Sorry, Liz, I didn't see you sneak in there. If you would all please come up.
No, she's like me. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thanks for the
Dr.
heads up.
Samuels is here as well.
School Nurses Association.
President of the New Jersey State School Nurses Association. And also thank you to Judy Wood, who helped initiate everything for this special proclamation.
Okay.
Proclamation
I
in
respect
honor of
that.
school nurses and public health nurses, recognizing the power of nurses in our community. Whereas registered nurses in the United States constitute our nation's largest healthcare profession and are consistently voted the most trusted profession year after year. And whereas the depth and breadth of the registered nursing profession meet the diverse and evolving healthcare needs of the American population in a wide range of settings. And whereas public health nurses and school nurses address the home and community factors that impact the community members' health. And whereas public health nurses improve the quality of our lives, help children thrive, and reduce human suffering. Public health nurses work behind the scenes to prevent hazards and keep people healthy, such as tracking disease and vaccinating community members. And whereas public health nurses are professional nurses that focus in all spectrums of the community, assessing community needs, developing complex health challenges, and providing solutions to the issues. And whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and the lifelong achievements of all students by serving on the front lines and providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children. And whereas school nurses act as liaisons to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children. And whereas school nurses work together with the public health nurses to understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a difference for every child every day. And whereas the American Nurses Association 2025, the theme for Nurses Celebration is the power of nurses, with appreciation for nurses' unparalleled impact and their contributions to our community, and an open invitation to hashtag thank a nurse for enriching our lives and the worlds we live in. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Donna Guariglia, and the Morris Township Board of Health President Robert Katz, ask that all residents of Morris Township, New Jersey, join me in honoring registered nurses, particularly school nurses and public health nurses who care for all of us. And be it further resolved that the residents of Morris Township, New Jersey, celebrate the accomplishments of registered nurses and their efforts to improve our healthcare system and show our appreciation for the nation's registered nurses, not just during this week, but at every opportunity throughout the year. Congratulations, and we have one of you guys come in front of the podium with Kathy and Liz and get a picture.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Liz, you're looking at this.
Nice try.
She's gonna hide it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So these guys are the real workers behind the scenes. So
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
We're very lucky with our school nurses. We work very well together. Yes, we are. And our public health, we work very well. Thank you.
You guys have a great night.
You do the same. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
you.
You want additional copy? Print it out for the other?
Yeah, we can do that after. The next proclamation on the agenda tonight is honoring Juneteenth, and that will be presented by Committeeman Jonnada.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation setting in motion the end of slavery in the United States, and whereas the Civil War ended with the surrender of General Lee at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9th, 1865, and whereas this news reached Texas when Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston Bay with Union troops. On June 19, 1865, he announced, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." And whereas celebration of the end of slavery, which became known as Juneteenth, is the oldest known public celebration of the end of slavery in the United States, and whereas in 2021, Juneteenth was established as a federal holiday, opening it to symbolic and global interpretation and providing a better understanding of the evolution of our nation and its people. Juneteenth celebrations then and now recognize the ongoing fight for human rights and equality and are commemorated through family gatherings, faith services, music, and storytelling. Today, Juneteenth honors African American resilience and achievement while preserving historical narratives that have promoted racial and personal advancement since Freedom Day. And whereas on a larger scale, the celebration of Juneteenth reminds us all of the enduring promises of freedom, equality, and opportunity that are central to the American dream. Now, therefore, the Township Committee of the Township of Morris does hereby proclaim June 19, 2025 as a day to celebrate Juneteenth and urges all citizens to join in this commemoration. And I'd like to add that Juneteenth started as a tradition in Texas and later in in the South by African Americans and later nationally by African Americans. And then this tradition became a national holiday, so which is very appropriate, and I'm honored to read this proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeeman Gyorfy. So happy Juneteenth to everyone.
Jonnada.
Jonnada.
Long day.
We will open our first public commentary. There are currently 4 members of the public joining us on Zoom and 4 members attending in person. At this time, we will open the meeting to public comment. We'll begin with comments from those here in person, then move to our participants on Zoom. If you're joining on Zoom, please raise your hand if you would like to speak. Please state your name and if you are a resident or non-resident for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes. If you have questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any members from the public who would like to speak? You can approach the podium, please.
Yeah, my name is Candy Wong, and I live at 5 Jacob Arnold Road in Morristown. And this is actually my neighbor across the street. We have a water problem. Nothing's draining. I've talked to Tim. I have a USB, if you want to see it, of the water that's flowing down my driveway when it rains. It's eroded all the soil. My Belgian block has sunk, and my driveway's cracked. I mean, you fixed somebody else, they fixed King's, right? Yeah. King's was fixed by the town, and nobody is giving me any satisfaction. I was told by the engineer, well, you know, your block is sinking. Yeah, my block is sinking because it's soaking wet. And then he said, well, why don't you put in a new driveway? I don't have $30,000 to put in a new driveway. Does the town want to put in a new driveway? You know, it's got to get fixed. It's not only mine. She has a lake in front of her house every time it rains.
When was the first time you brought it to the township's attention?
Last time it rained really bad, right?
So this is a new problem, though. I'm saying this,
Well, it's not a new problem. It's a new problem I started complaining about. We've lived there for 30 years.
I spoke to Mrs. Wong.
But I mean, if you walk down the hill on the side of my driveway, you can basically almost see underneath it because the soil's gone. It's like a ditch where it used to be sloped down. You want to see it?
I know, I've seen it.
I mean, you've seen it, but
No,
they
no,
haven't
yes,
seen
I
it.
don't, I
Can't
don't,
take a stick drive and put it up in a public meeting.
I can't hear you.
We couldn't look at it now.
I don't know what he said.
Because we don't know what's on that stick drive. I'm sure it's fine, but as a policy, we just can't take images and put them up during a public meeting without first seeing them.
so my question is, which I'm sure you're going to answer. So the first we heard about it, though, was 2 weeks ago.
3 weeks
So
ago
has
was that
someone been out
storm.
there?
I think it was the storm at the middle of May, if I recall, that 14th, 15th of May storm. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, nothing. I haven't seen
Yeah.
one person come out.
Our inspector was out there.
I didn't see
That's what I
anyone. I'm just
spoke-
telling you,
okay.
he never came to the door and I didn't see
Yeah,
anyone. And my husband works from home, so I haven't seen anyone.
There was an inspector that did come up, and then he's been.
And what did he say?
It has to do with some of the road configuration where it's coming down because you don't have any other Belgian block. When the developers put that roadway in, it's just asphalt that goes to the side of the road, so there's no diversion for some of that water when we had those heavy-duty storms. Was one of the issues that.
I mean, we all have drains. We have a drain that's past my driveway.
Right.
And the same with her. Her drain is past her driveway. So it all just stops right there. Mine just flows right down my driveway. The water comes
Right.
across the street and right down the driveway.
If I believe they had the video, because you had sent the
You have
video.
to speak up, Tim. I can't hear.
They have the video. I believe you sent the video because they
I
have the
sent
video.
it to you.
Right, they have the video for that, for their evaluation of it.
But is somebody going to do something?
They're-
Or will I have to just keep
I
coming
will, I will
back?
check with the engineer and have him get back to you at the beginning of next week.
You want to come talk, Fran?
Tim, as an interim solution, can we ask DPW to put up an asphalt berm as a temporary solution to block the water?
As she said, it's going to go right down her driveway because where it's coming in from Gaston Road, it comes there,
down
and the
Jacob
outlet's
Arnold.
on the other side of her
So
driveway.
which direction is it coming from? From Gaston?
The Gaston side.
Okay.
It's coming down Jacob Arnold. Half of the water is making a pond in her yard, and the other half is literally turning and coming right down the driveway. And when we had the really bad rain a few weeks ago, it actually looked like waves in the driveway, the water. That's how hard it was coming down.
Wow.
The bottom of my driveway is cracked from all the water. I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like a problem. I'm just trying to determine when it it got, that we first heard about it just 2 weeks ago. Or have you been in prior to that about the whole situation or no?
I've had this problem for a really long time, and I think we got to the point that my husband was just fed up because now all the soil's gone. On
Right,
the driveway, and now we're afraid we're gonna lose that part of the driveway.
Yeah, it sounds to me, and I'd like to could you just state your name and we'll hear your
Fran
comments?
Lowensteiner,
Mhm.
6 Jacob Arnold Road.
Mhm.
And we have a gully on the side, we call a gully, on the side of our property, part of which is in the right of way, and it doesn't empty out. The bugs in the summer are just latent there. And I can clean it out in the fall and in the winter, but now it's all full again. And it can't drain to the street. And years ago, we had complained at least 25 years ago. We've lived there for 32 and a half. We complained probably 25 years ago. The town engineer told us to put in rocks. The rocks have gone below the soil, and the soil is there. And there's no way to get from what I call the gully to the drain, the storm drain, because we would have to dig up the street. And that you can't do without a permit, obviously, even if you were piping it through there, because somehow or another you have to pipe it out and underground into the storm drain. And
Well, Kathy's was fixed. They fixed hers with no problem. The town went over there and did it.
yeah, and she's got huge rocks all the way right to the storm drain. They did nothing. Ours
Is
cost
this
about,
a residence on your same street?
yes,
They're right next to her.
8 Jacob Arnold.
Jacob Arnold.
Okay.
And they did that right after they moved in.
When
And they
was that,
just
Ms. Forsythe?
ignored us.
How long ago was that?
At least 25 years.
No, Kathy's not been there 25 years. Has she?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, again,
And
we'll
it's
find out.
ongoing.
Yeah,
And there's nothing we can do. And yes, we walk the dog a few times a day. And in a few weeks, we won't be walking on our side of the street. It'll be so buggy. I mean, we just adopted her from St. Hubert's, and we can't have her mosquito ridden again.
no, we will look into what,
They're already looking
Oh,
into it, but I will
they're-
get an update where they are.
yeah, we'll get an update and see what we can do, and sorry
Can I
that,
just leave this for you because you
Yeah.
can see her.
you can definitely leave it, yes,
Sure.
yep. You want to bring it up, I'll take
Yeah,
it,
Because you
Yep.
can see your front yard in here too.
yep,
Okay.
Just give it to our clerk.
bring it right, yep. We'll hold on to, we'll take a look at it. And again, sorry that this is happening, and I know, I'm not saying it's just this reason, but unfortunately, we've had tremendous amount of rain in the
No, but
last
it's every year.
couple
It's
weeks as
constant.
well.
You know,
It's
it continues to happen until you get to.
every spring and every fall. And part of it is on not your, but the
I
township's right
totally
away.
understand.
Sorry,
Yep.
I'm not,
No,
blaming
if we
you.
can try to help, like whatever we did at 8 Jacob Arnold, if we can figure out.
He also told me to put a berm, like the hump at the end of my driveway, and maybe the water won't come down. I sell real estate for 40 years. People are gonna know I have a water problem if I put a berm at the end of my driveway.
Yeah, totally understand. Let's find out what they come back with, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Wong? Mrs. Wong? You just made a comment about the berm at the end of your driveway, which is I was going to suggest. I had to do that at my house too because I had an awful lot of water. I'm opposite of a slope myself, and water comes at my house. And the berm at the end of the driveway has helped tremendously.
Yeah,
but the And-
burr out at the end of your
Actually, can I ask you, go back to the microphone, just so it's on the public can hear? Thanks.
I'm just telling you right now, I've really been selling real estate for 40 years. I owned a relocation company in Morristown for 35 years. Everybody that comes to your house is going to know that you have a water problem if you have that in your driveway.
I'm just saying until the problem gets resolved, it might be something you should consider. You can take it out later.
Why should I have to go through the expense?
Okay, well, maybe Tim,
Do you know what
maybe
I'm
We'll see what we
maybe
can do.
DPW can put a temporary berm at the end of her driveway to help this
Well, it sounds
situation.
like, Gina, again, I think this is, we're
With your
getting
permission.
beyond. Let's
Yeah.
find out
It's-
what we can do. Let's find out what they did at 8 Jacob Arnold and see.
I know there was a problem on Jonathan Smith with water too, and they got theirs corrected, but it took her a year.
If we can help, we definitely will do everything we can to try to help. We certainly don't want you to be suffering through having water coming down your driveway this often.
What was the address where the problem got fixed?
8 Jacob Arnold, 8.
Who's at Jacob? Who's at 8? Is that the Kings? The Kings. Okay. Yeah.
25 years.
But yeah, that was a long time ago that it was corrected.
But the town did it.
Okay.
Whatever the
Okay.
problem was, the town fixed it because they were town trucks doing it over there.
Okay. Is there,
Do you know of any other residences?
Well, I know Jonathan's, I don't know the number on Jonathan
Okay.
Smith, but I know she had a terrible water problem and had to fight the town for a year. It took her a year to get it straightened out.
Can I just?
Yep.
It does take a while because we budget every year for specific projects. We can't just add projects middle of the year if we don't have it in our budget. So it usually goes to a general services contract where we do typically handle drainage issues like this with driveways and streets. But we have a very finite budget and we are unable to, for the most part,
Okay.
to add projects.
For the amount of time.
And for the fairness, you said this has been happening for
Yeah.
25 years. We just heard about this 2 weeks ago for the
Yeah.
first time. So
Yeah, no,
we need some time to
But
figure out
the
what we're
amount
gonna
of
do.
Taxes that we pay, I'm gonna have my driveway fall off, the corner of it fall off because of a water
will,
problem.
we will,
We have a process.
yeah.
And we will have the
And we're-
engineering department look at it. And if we need to budget money for it to fix it, we will do so, but it may take time.
And we appreciate your patience as we will get you an answer for sure as quickly as possible on what we can do. But thank you for sharing your situation. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Seeing no hands raised, is there a motion to close public
So moved.
comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This evening, we have one ordinance scheduled for public hearing and adoption. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance 20-25 into the record, after which we will open the public hearing.
Ordinance 20-25, an ordinance of the Township of Morris authorizing the execution of a water main easement agreement with the Southwest Morris County Municipal Utilities Authority. Note, water main easement agreement for 15 Jean Street.
We will take comments from in-person attendees first, and then we'll switch over to Zoom. Please virtually raise your hand in Zoom if you would like to speak. May I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance number 20-25?
So moved.
Is there a-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no one from the public and no hands raised, is there a motion to close public
So
comment?
moved, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 20-25?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
I would just like to, Mayor, comment, since call for discussion, just to let the public know that we're doing this to streamline, I think, operations here at Town Hall, so that we give the authority to a tax assessor to settle some claims that used to have to go through a lengthier process. And so it's a,
Talking about a different ordinance.
I don't know
Yeah,
what you're talking
different-
about, Jeff.
Talking about
You're
Smucko
talking about-
ordinance, 15 Jean
Oh,
Street.
This is about the easement, the water
oh, I'm
main
looking at
easement.
21, oh, this
And
is
that's-
2025. I'm looking at
Yes.
2125. I am so
You can
sorry.
hold those
I
comments
will
till we
hold
get
those
there,
comments.
Deputy Mayor.
This is so we can get water to the community
Yes,
center.
this,
Right.
yeah, sorry, my apologies. I'm looking at the wrong ordinance.
It's cleanup work.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Guariglia.
Yes. I, Donna J. Guariglia, Mayor, declare ordinance 20-25 approved and adopted and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. We have 3 ordinances for introduction on tonight's agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance 21-25 into the record.
Ordinance 21-25, an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris, authorizing the tax assessor to settle tax appeals. Note, authorize the tax assessor to settle property tax appeals under $10,000.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 21-25?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any questions or any discussion?
Well, I will now make my comments. Sorry for making them out of turn before. But just let the public know that we're doing this to streamline operations. Used to be a lengthier process, but we're going to allow the tax assessor to make some decisions on appeals that are under $10,000, which are very small, and it'll speed up the process for our residents.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Guariglia.
Yes. The public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 21-25 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance 22-25 into the record.
22-25, an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris, authorizing the sale of that certain property known as Block 8602, Lot 10 in the Township of Morris, County of Morris, State of New Jersey. Note, authorizes the sale of township-owned property located at 4 Old Turnpike Road.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 22-25?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any questions or discussion? Madam Clerk?
I was just going to say, I think it warrants some explanation while we're selling township-owned property. Tim, would you like to talk about that? Or?
Sure.
I can. Okay.
This is a piece of property that the township had bought with the original intention of moving our recreation department there. But then once we're able to secure the Jean Street property, it would make more sense to move our recreation department up to the Jean Street Community Center once it's ready. We have an opportunity with a 100% affordable developer for a group home to help us meet our affordable housing obligation in the 4th round. They are willing to purchase the building from us, and as we've done with other 100% affordable projects in the past, we will assist them with our Affordable House Trust Fund money so that we can build this, and then this will count towards our 4th round obligation to meet our affordable housing.
Sorry, I just want to add one thing there.
Yep.
So what's before you, the agreement is in draft form. There's still some negotiations that need to be done. If there's any substantial changes, this ordinance will have to be, any substantial changes to the agreement, the ordinance will have to be reintroduced at the next meeting. But we're trying to get this done as expeditious as possible. I don't think there'll be any substantive changes, but there is still some negotiating that needs to go on. It's mainly mostly legal things that I would deem non-substantive, but there is the possibility we would have to reintroduce this at the next meeting.
Understood.
Yep. And if I could also add, to mention that it's a group home, but this is doing affordable housing with a purpose, as I like to say, instead of just building affordable housing. It's going to meet a need not only for affordable housing, but meet a need in the community for developmentally disabled or special needs people to have a group home to live in dignity. And it'll be a nice addition to what the housing stock that we have here in Morris Township, and I'm glad that we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel.
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mayor Guariglia.
Yes. The public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 22-25 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance 23-25 into the record.
23-25, an ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, New Jersey, adopting the redevelopment plan for Ketch Road regarding the property identified on the Township's tax map as Block 1901, a portion of Lot 1, 540 West Hanover Ave, and a portion of Lot 1.01, 81 Ketch Road, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A 12A-1. Note, adopts a redevelopment plan for portion of 540 West Hanover Ave and 81 Ketch Road after determining the area qualifies as in need of redevelopment.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 23-25?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any comments? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gyorfy?
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada?
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Mayor Griglia?
Yes. The public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 21-25 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, July 16th at 7 p.m. We have 29 resolutions on tonight's agenda. Committeeman member Gyorfy will recuse himself from resolutions 142-25 and 152-25 due to his role in the fire department. May I have a motion to approve
Mayor?
resolution?
Mayor, I'd like to request that 158-25 be pulled for a separate discussion. Thank you.
And Mayor, I'd ask 156 be pulled for a separate vote, please.
So, I missed it.
I think we should vote on block first, Jeff, before you go into
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I was just looking for the numbers
Yeah,
to make the
exactly.
motion.
So the motion will be
You're recusing from which two?
142 and
142 and
152.
152. So
So we're going to make a motion to approve 133,
You could say the
Dash 20.
remaining,
What?
the remaining,
the remaining resolutions, other than 142, 152, 156, and 158?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. I'll make that motion.
Is
I'll
there-
second it.
Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, who's first? I'm sorry.
It was Mark and then
That was
Jeff.
Mr. Grayzel.
Jeff and then
Jeff.
Mark.
Okay. Mr. Gyorfy?
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel?
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Mayor Griglia?
Yes. So are we going to do 156
So
first?
now I'll do, why don't I do I'll move that we do 142 and 152?
142.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second
142
that.
and 152 together in block?
Okay,
Yes.
these two together.
Committeeman Gyorfy is recused.
When you're
Oh.
ready, may I have a roll call vote?
Yes, sorry. Mr. Grayzel?
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Mayor Griglia?
Yes.
And I'll move that we move 156-25?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor?
Yep.
I appreciate that we're awarding this contract because of a state required, a state imposed deadline. It's a large contract for the sewer department of over $200,000. When we're spending that kind of money, I prefer that we go out to RFP to solicit several bids on it. I understand, again, this is being recommended by our engineering department and the sewer department, and that we are running up against a state deadline towards the end of the year. However, I will oppose this resolution because we did not go out to RFP.
Any other comments?
I have a question and a comment also. So, Mr. Cantor, can you explain non-fair and open, how we can approve $325 or $235,000 without going to bid? What's the
Sure.
process?
So the way I like to explain to the public is it's the worst named law in the state. Because what non-fair and open implies is that there's been no political contributions, and the vendor needs to certify that there's been zero political contributions to this governing body, and they're not allowed to make any political contributions to this governing body during the extent of their contract. It's a professional services contract, so we're allowed to select a vendor without having to go out for a bid. So the idea is in a fair and open, they would disclose all their political contributions, and they'd be allowed to make donations up to $5,200 or whatever the cap is for that. So the non-fair and open means that they've certified they haven't made any contributions, and we didn't go out for an RFP on it. And again, it's a professional services contract, so we're not required to bid those services.
Professional services contract, you're not required to bid.
Correct.
Okay.
Same with all of our professionals.
Very good. So I have two comments. One, that this is coming from the state that we're required to do this. But as we often like to say, it's an unfunded state mandate. This large cost is going to be borne by all municipalities across the state with no help from the state to pay for it. And I'm not sure what it's going to do for us by putting our sewer drains in the GIS in the short term when we have so many other stormwater issues to deal with. And the money, I think, could be spent better in other ways. So that's one of my issues, that this is a state mandate that's making us spend money that I think could be spent in other ways. But the other issue is I would like to piggyback on what Mr. Gyorfy said in putting out an RFP. I know that it's a short timeline, but I agree that we should be doing RFPs for big projects like this. Thank you.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
No.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
and Mayor Griglia.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 158-25?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or comments?
Yes, I have several comments to make. Just as I just stated with 156, being a little frustrated with the state and imposing this mandate on us, we do have a mandate for affordable housing, and I agree that the state is very unaffordable and we need more affordable housing to meet that need. But the timeline that the state has set is really unrealistic. Our town has rushed to meet this obligation. So many towns around the state have rushed to meet this obligation. And when you rush, you don't get the best result. And I feel that what we're putting forward tonight is understandably the rushed process is not the best result. I am a little frustrated at the process that the state has imposed on us. Also a little frustrated with the process that we have gone through in our own town with very few meetings with not only the municipal body, the governing body, but also with the planning board. The planning board saw it for the first time at their June 2nd meeting. We have put in place some very, very good people and very thoughtful people at the planning board. And I really feel like they should have been involved in this process much earlier on, instead of just having our professionals, as good as they are, tell us what the best plan should be without input from the planning board, who actually has to and did approve the plan the other night. They did approve it because we have a deadline that we're up against, just as we have a deadline that we just talked about for 156. This deadline is much sooner, June 30th. But I'm frustrated in the fact that I don't think we got the best result on a number of these projects. I am a little concerned about the density of the Columbia Road project, and I have expressed that to my fellow colleagues here. I'm also very frustrated that we haven't gotten the best result out of the Madison Avenue project at the old JCP&L site, where I think we could have done better. I have a question for Mr. Cantor. So when we approve this and the planning board approved this, we are just approving concepts with allocations of the affordable housing at those sites, correct? They still have to come back with plans that can be altered at the planning board level? Is that correct?
So it's a little more than that. So it's not just yes or no. First off, this governing body tonight is just endorsing a plan that was adopted by the planning board. So there's no ability for this governing body to modify what the planning board did. The state left it up to the planning board to develop the plan and to adopt the plan. But part of the fourth round obligation of this body is to acknowledge the fact that you have an obligation, that the planning board determined how that obligation should be met, and that you are endorsing that. As far as the procedure at this point, what's only been approved is really the density on those properties and how many units those properties can hold, and how many affordable units would come out of that density. I know we've seen, some modified designs, but they're still going to have zoning put in place to accommodate those projects, that would be by ordinance. There still has to be site plan at the planning board. And that legislation to facilitate the actual development and the zoning that's going to be required for these projects will come back before this governing body. The timing for that is all ordinances must be approved by March of 2026. It's again, to the deputy mayor's point, the legislation was not well thought out. It's putting tremendous strain and stress on this governing body, its professionals. And even when you get to the legislation, this governing body is going to have to consider in early 2026. The reason why that date is scheduled is because between July and August, developers can come in and object to our plan. If there's a project that didn't get into our plan, a developer can come in and say, I should have been in the plan. Starting in September, the courts will deal with those objections, and the deadline to have those objections resolved is December of 2025. Following December of 2025, in theory, everybody's plan should be set. Then all legislation is required to be adopted by, again, March 2026, and it'll be done by ordinance. So it'll basically be, they'll either all be on our January calendar or February and adopted in March. So that's the process. And then once those ordinances are adopted, the builders or whoever on those properties, if there is a capable builder, can obviously go in and build.
So we're adopting in the second phase by March of next year. You said the zoning at each site, individual sites?
Yeah, all legislation to allow our fair share housing element to be put in place has to be adopted by March of 2026.
Okay, but to be clear, we're just locking in the density and the proposed affordable units coming out of those sites right now.
I mean, there's not much else. I don't know before. I mean, for us, it's just the endorsement. And unless Mr. Quinn has any more information, I don't know what. I think that's basically all we're
I just
doing.
have one comment in reference to the planning board.
Yeah.
The planning board chairman was involved in the process, along with members of the township committee. The professionals didn't do it by themselves.
Yep, but the planning board didn't get the plan. With all due respect to the chairman of the planning board, the planning board didn't get the plan till June 2nd.
And
And
the plan was finished on June the 1st.
I understand.
So it wasn't that we were holding it or anything else. It's a very detailed plan.
I understand,
They
but
were working night and day to get it done.
I understand. I'm not blaming anybody per se. I'm just expressing my frustration with the process and the timeline that the state has imposed on us and what we're getting out of it. And what I think a lot of towns are going to get out of this compressed timeline is something that's not as good as it could be if we had all had more time. And this is a big problem with our state and the mandates that we get. And I'm just expressing my frustration up here. I know the professionals worked really hard and they did a good job. But
they didn't do it on their own.
But they didn't do it on their own.
They didn't do it on their
I
own.
understand. But like I said, we put very good people in place at the planning board, and the planning board, I think, should have had a look before they had to vote 2 weeks later on it. And there was no opportunity for any input from the planning board.
Yes, that is not correct, sir.
Why is that not correct?
They had it in closed session for 2 weeks, but then we took their input.
On what date? In May? June 2nd?
No, 2 weeks
in May?
prior.
2 weeks prior.
In May?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So they got it well in advance and we took their input to finalize the plan. So
Okay.
they were, I said, it was reviewed with them in closed session.
Mhm.
They all had their input, we discussed it.
Very good. So the bottom line is the biggest disappointment for me is what came out of the Madison Avenue project, which EDAC, our Economic Development Advisory Committee, have made recommendations for the Madison Avenue corridor that have not been included in that plan. And I am just very hopeful that the developer of that particular site will work with us and be flexible a little bit and possibly take additional input that was not able to be communicated maybe within this compressed timeline. And it sounds like we have a few months until the zoning is put in place where additional discussions could take place. Are additional discussions allowed between now and then?
Of course.
Yeah.
All the input that we got from the planning board and the township committee was given to those developers.
Yeah, and I just want to restate, because some of the language is awkward. What's before you is called an endorsement. But when you look at the statute, what it's really referring to is more of an acknowledgement that you're aware that you have an affordable obligation, and you're aware that the planning board adopted this and you have an obligation to fulfill it. Even though it's called an endorsement, which we all know endorsement means like we're totally behind it, but it's used that way because you have to support your planning board's decision on how to implement the affordable housing. So by endorsing it tonight, I don't think even if you object to some of the projects in it, I don't know that a vote against endorsing it is not an acknowledgement of what the planning board did, but that's for everybody in this dais to kind of, deal with on their own.
And one last question, and we can stop. Why is it given to the planning board to adopt as opposed to the governing body to adopt?
So that was a decision made by the state legislature.
The extension of the master plan, if I'm correct. Isn't it?
Yeah, but in the past, what we did was, in the third round, the governing body negotiated with Fair Share Housing, came up with a settlement agreement, and that settlement agreement was then made part of the master plan and then was ultimately adopted by the planning board. For some reason, the legislature thought that this was a better process.
Yeah, because generally the planning board can't rezone properties on their own, like we're doing right now.
Which
And
is
that's
why-
usually
We're not
Which is why they
doing the
which is why this stage is mandated. So your endorsement of it is your acknowledgement that you have work to do up here to implement what the planning board did.
Okay.
Later in the year will be the zoning ordinance before this body.
Yeah, or early next year.
Very good. So between now and then, I hope we can continue to work with some of the developers to improve the projects that have been proposed at a couple of the sites.
I mean, I would hope they want to cooperate with the township.
Yeah, I think they definitely will. Are there any other comments before I make comments?
Thank you, Mayor.
Just real quick, notwithstanding the process that was imposed on the township by the state and the deadlines and all that, which frustrated all of us, not just here on the dais, but our professionals and our planning board. The plan that was approved by the planning board is a good plan. It's a good workable plan. It gets us to our affordable housing obligation and might even give us some, a little extra for in case things happen. What we're voting on, basically what the planning board has done is it's given some developers a seat at the table to, based on the plans that they've, preliminary plans, because they are preliminary, that shows a concept. There's still a lot of work that has to be done to, take that concept and bring it to fruition, and with the input from the governing body and the planning board on how to make it, workable. So, this is basically a kickoff, starting off point for the township and to work with the developers to come up with something that is going to work for the township and our residents and meet our obligation, because as the deputy mayor said, the housing, we need more low and moderate income housing in New Jersey, and Morris Township is certainly going to, kick in their fair share on this, so to speak. So the plan is a good plan. We've seen it. There could be tweaks, but these developments are just preliminary, and further discussions will always be undertaken. And that's not to say that someone can't come, some developer who's not on this particular plan can submit a plan for, to the governing body for some new development. We're just saying that these are the few that we're elected to work with from day one, and that's it. Anything can happen. Some things can go south, and then we'll need some backup. And I think that, all of us are open to what might come in the future. So I'm going to be voting yes on it.
I'll just say, Mayor, I was originally hesitant on supporting the plan. I am supporting it tonight. I did want to just call out the work that the professionals did earlier in the year on reducing our quota and challenging the original number, which I think was around 570 affordable units, to down to 375. which is really going to lessen the impact on our town. And over the next 10 years, that's a tremendous reduction. And I appreciate all the work they did in pointing out all the mistakes the state made when they handed down our number. One benefit to this plan that I think is really important is that most of the projects in this plan are retrofitting commercial office space that is either vacant or struggling. And it's going to have a limited impact on the environment in our town, the open space in our town. The one project that is included that does have mature forest, we will be working to get open space out of that project, and there's a land conservation easement as well to limit the disruption to the neighborhoods nearby, which I'm very grateful for. So I agree with, Mr. Grayzel's concern. I think the state enacted this law on a short timeline on purpose because they wanted the towns to get it done and not get drawn out. And because of that, we all lose because we're all just trying to get all this work done without enough time, recognizing that our professionals are also professionals in other municipalities doing the same job and juggling many different projects at once. So I appreciate the work of Mr. Quinn, Mr. Cantor, our planners, our planning board attorney, and the engineering department for getting this done on time. But yeah, I agree, Mr. Grayzel. I have a lot of concerns. It's not the most ideal project. I totally agree on that. But to me, the good news is we're having limited disruption to the, I would say the character of our town. We're not tearing down a lot of forest for this, like what happened in the previous rounds, which is a good thing. 3 out of 4 is pretty good for limited disruption here. So that's why I support it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to build, I'm sorry.
No, finish, because I'll
I
just
just
want
want
to
to
wrap
build on
it up.
something that, that's been spoken up here. And I serve as Fair Share Housing Council to not to this township, but to 4 other municipalities. And I think that, something that, Committeeman Gyorfy said, this governing body has a tough challenge tonight, and they will have challenges in the future. But what makes it special is that they've gone out and they've picked out projects that they like. Not that they like, but if you don't do it now, projects can be forced upon you. And what they're trying to do is protect the township as Committeeman Gyorfy said, the character of the town. They found old buildings that be retrofitted. If you don't come up with a good plan now and you're not ahead of it, if you're behind the 8 ball, it allows developers to come in and dictate to you. And I think we're dictating to developers, although it may have been rushed. I still think there's a lot of advantages to the way that this committee has handled their 4th round obligations.
Thank you. And so I just want to wrap it.
Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay.
Thank you. Just want to echo something that Mr. Gyorfy did say, and I agree with a lot of your comments. So thank you for those thoughtful comments. That I wasn't trying to come down before on our professional staff. And as Mr. Gyorfy stated before, they worked really hard to reduce our number from what it was originally to a much lower number. And I thank them and thank Mr. Quinn for doing that work. The frustration really is just with the process itself, not with the people. I just want to be clear with that. Thank you.
Understood. I just want to wrap up and say that one thing that I will disagree with the deputy mayor on is we all agree that this was a rushed process. We all agree that the state did not effectively put this together so that any of the municipalities, one, had any input in the beginning, but then we all had to rush to try to get it done. But what I will disagree with is that the comment that it was rushed and it's not a good plan, I almost feel the fact that it was rushed and we came up with this plan, that the professionals and everybody who worked on it, it's almost like it's a really good plan for being under the gun like they were, and literally not just working for Morris Township, but other towns. And I do think that we will have time to have some other input, but overall, we are going to approve what the planning board unanimously put in front of us, or endorse what the planning board put in front of us. And I just want to go on record that I don't think it's a bad plan that was rushed through without any consideration. Obviously, there's always room for more people to have input, and they will be able to do that. But the fact that we got this done within the timeline and that we'll be immune from builder's remedy lawsuits, I think, again, I wasn't here for the first 3 rounds. So, I I can't imagine what it was like to go through it then. But overall, I just want to go on the record as saying, I think they did an incredible job. And so I will vote yes on the redevelopment plan.
But Mayor, just to be clear, I don't think I used the words that it is a bad plan. I didn't say
You
it's
said
a
it was
bad
not a good plan. You
What?
said it was rushed and it was not a good plan.
Okay, so there are elements the elements that are, I have concerns with elements of the plan, but overall, it's a plan that works for the municipality. Again, I think there are those two sites that I think need additional work, and I hope that we can negotiate that in the interim. But the other elements of the plan are actually very good, and as Mr. Gyorfy said, fit well within the municipality.
Agreed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. We have 2 items on the consent calendar this evening. Can I have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar by one motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of monthly reports. The following reports are on file in the office of the Township Clerk and Township Administrator. April 2025 Fire, May 2025 our Tax Collector, Morris Township Library, and Police. Can I have a motion to approve the monthly reports?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The amount of bills and vouchers for this meeting is $9,641,191.51. We are also the tax collector for the school district, the library, and the county. May I have a motion to approve the list of bills and vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gyorfy,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. At this time, we will have standing committee reports and general commentary will be provided by each township committee member, and we will start with Committeeman Jonnada.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to congratulate our committeeman, Jeff Grayzel, for winning a nomination for another round of Township Committee, as well as his opponent, George Tallarico, as well as the others who had won their primaries on both parties, especially our candidates for governor, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill and Assemblyman Jack Chittorelli. And also, we celebrated Pride Fest at Ginty Field on June 8th, ably led by Committeeman Bud Ravitz. It was a fun and well-attended event, and I'm sure Committeeman Ravitz will summarize it for us. I had also attended a networking breakfast for the 250th anniversary of the Revolution on June 6th at Mayo Performing Arts Center in Morristown. It was headed by Morris County's 250th Anniversary Committee, led by Mendham Township Committeewoman Sarah Nybart. Carrie Fellows of Crossroads of the American Revolution updated us on the statewide planning and events for next year's celebration and beyond, since the Revolution did not stop in 1776. Morris Township's former Chair of Historical Preservation, Carol Barkin, also spoke. She spoke about the farewell tour of Marquis de Lafayette, which will be taking place on July 13th at Morristown Green and July 14th at the County Library. I had made some networking contacts to see how Morris Township can participate, since this area played an integral part in the Revolution. Morris Township and Morristown was the military capital of the American Revolution, where the Continental Army stayed here for 2 winters. And that Continental Army was born on June 14th, happened to be Flag Day 250 years ago. It also happens to be Mayor Guariglia's birthday. After an eventful morning celebrating the mayor's birthday, among other things, I had attended a banquet given by Picatinny Arsenal to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. Now, I was not there on an official capacity as an elected official, but was invited by a friend from a Toastmasters who belonged to a club located at Picatinny. I had learned that the Army loves its grog, and they love cheering, huzzah. I met State Senator Tony Bucco and Morris County Commissioner Typhon Sellon, who did attend on an official capacity. There was much impressive pageantry and moving symbolism, in particular for the fallen comrades in arms. The keynote speaker was one Erica Jeffries Purdo. She was a civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army. She was a graduate of West Point who served several years before leaving the service. Interestingly, Mrs. Purdo, an African-American woman, commended the U.S. Army for its diversity, and I noticed how diverse the Picatinny Arsenal personnel were, considering the interesting times in which we currently exist. And speaking of the Continental Army, I'll speak of one of the engagements that that army had fought, and that was the Battle of Springfield, fought in Springfield, New Jersey, on June 23rd, 1780. That was 245 years ago. This was the last major battle fought in the North. Subsequent fighting would be in the South, ending in Yorktown in October 1781. Last fall, Deputy Mayor Grayzel had given me a brochure on a future commemoration of the battlefield. The sponsors were looking to place markers to show where the fighting took place, mainly along the main street of Springfield, as well as the skirmish line at Short Hills. Right now, there is little to show that the area was ever a site of a major battlefield. If one drives from Route 24 to Springfield, you enter the fighting immediately when you reach Route 82. Some sites are the Presbyterian Church and the Cannonball House. Other than that, nothing else. The major place of fighting is now a strip mall named after General Nathaniel Greene, who led the Patriot Army. Currently, nothing in Morris County is proposed. The British Crown forces, including Hessian and German troops, had eyed the troops in Morristown and wanted to attack this area. 2 weeks prior, on June 7th, the Crown troops fought at Connecticut Farms, which is now Union, New Jersey. The fighting there led to a draw. On June 23rd, they struck again. Led by Hessian General Wilhelm von Kniphausen, the Crown forces, numbering about 5,000, crossed from Staten Island to Elizabeth, then through Connecticut Farms, along modern Route 82. The first fighting occurred along the east branch of the Rahway River, and they were met first by the militia. The Continentals were alerted by the beacons being lit once the British left Staten Island, and 5,000 of them marched from Jockey Hollow along Route 24, Madison Avenue, right here. They split in two prongs to meet the two prongs of the British. One was at Springfield, the other smaller force at north at Short Hills. The British and Hessians kept steadily pushing westward from the river to the center of town. The major engagement took place in front of the Presbyterian Church along an open field, which is now the location of the strip mall. The pastor of the church, James Caldwell, sided with the Patriots, and when the soldiers were running out of wadding, he offered pages from the church hymnals, which he said puts Watts in them boys, Isaac Watts being the hymn writer. As daylight began to wane, the two armies waned as well. Fighting stopped along the western branch of the Rahway River, which is now currently cannot be found since it's a located underground. It's one of those hidden rivers. As noted, this was the last major engagement fought in the north. A final note on the battle: when the British retreated, they burned the town, including the church, except for 4 houses that belonged to Tories or Loyalists, including the Cannonball House. This country was very divided back then, just as it is now. The recent murder of Minnesota State Senator Hortman and her husband shows us the depth of the depravity of how some are willing to go. The lives of elected officials and judges in this country are in constant threat. This level of political violence has not been seen except in developing countries that have shown signs of instability. In addition, there is divisive rhetoric from some politicians, opinion makers, and so-called influencers, praising these actions and warning potential victims. This all makes it dangerous for anyone who is either in a leadership position or just have views contrary to those currently in power. Those of us who are sensible wonder how this division can ever be fixed. I believe we can learn from historical examples as well as in the present. For example, the Continental Army had an array of opinions who fought for the common cause of independence for this new nation. They were made of patrician aristocracy that followed a hierarchical path, such as George Washington, as well as New England Puritan levelers who had a more egalitarian spirit. I also saw it 250 years later at the Picatinny Arsenal banquet with the diverse personnel, both military and civilian. This diverse group of people helped defend our nation, just as the Continental Army created one. Let us strive for the spirit of unity for a common cause, and maybe find the solution to our current strife. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Committeeman Gyorfy.
Thank you, Mayor. Keep on my report. brief. I wanted to thank the Memorial and Veterans Day Association for running their services as always on Memorial Day. I send my regrets to Jim Coons. I was unable to attend due to illness, but I know it went well. And I want also to thank our DPW for putting our veterans banners up on Woodland Avenue for the first time this year. It looked really great, and it was great being able to see all the banners up and down, which is the closest thing to our main street. And I'm looking forward to working later this summer to reopen the application process to our Veterans Banner program so we can honor veterans from across the community and continue to expand how many veterans we honor. It being the summer, there are a lot of parks projects going on. We had some delays at our Collinsville reconstruction project due to certain levels of chemicals found in the soil. We got sign off from the state to proceed with work, so we're really excited about that. Again, this is a very large reconstruction project that we got federal and state funds to help build. We're looking forward to transforming that neighborhood. I know Mr. Ravitz has been very involved with this as well through the design process. So we are hoping to get this done soon. And I know the contractor is hoping to get it done soon once they're back. There are other projects going on at the parks as well, from Cromwell Field to Saunders Park. There's just a lot going on because it's the summer. Looking forward to seeing the success of all those projects be completed. Just lastly, as a member of the Shared Services Committee, I'm hoping that we had been in discussion with some local municipalities about sharing maintenance workers for the fire department apparatus. And I know on our radar this year was to go visit a facility in Bergen County that has a co-op. And I'm looking forward to doing a site visit there in the coming months over the summer. Hopefully we get it done before Labor Day and see if we can find some opportunities there to share some maintenance personnel to save money. We have the space for it here in town and at our fire headquarters. And I know a lot of towns around us need help getting mechanics because there aren't qualified mechanics enough to go around to work on these $1 million pieces of apparatus that require technical expertise for pumps, for electrical technicians. And we wind up sending our apparatus to Bayonne or down to Middlesex, and we pay probably close to $100 an hour for the mechanics to work on these things. So there's grant money out there, or at least there was. I don't know if it's still out there because of all the cuts of the federal government, but we were hoping to apply for a grant to help pay for the mechanic and buy equipment. We will have to reevaluate that, but we did get buy-in from the State Department of Community Affairs that they wanted to help this project succeed. So more to come on that, but with that, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Committeeman Gyorfy. Two things. One, you were definitely missed, especially by all the veterans on Memorial Day. Many people were concerned about your health.
I have the blisters still. I ran into Lou and he said, stay away from me. So did Jim Coons. So I'm happy I didn't get anyone sick.
Right.
No one wants hand, foot, and mouth on Memorial Day
And the
weekend.
other thing is maybe we should talk to Liz Zalmy in our health department about getting some of those grants.
I have to say, my son's daycare was in constant contact with the health department for the outbreak in his school. So everyone's okay now. Good.
Committeeman Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also be brief. Just a quick update on swim pools. Swim pool season is open. Business is brisk. Looks like we're heading into summer tomorrow for the next foreseeable future. It's going to be real swim pool weather. So, I advise folks to, put the sunscreen on and enjoy the swim pools and all the activities that we have to, the township has to offer. I believe we're also starting up our summer concert series at the Ginty Gazebo in next week. So come on out to Ginty and enjoy some music. As Committeeman Jonnada had mentioned, I had the privilege of chairing the Pride 2025 Pride Fest, which was our second Pride Fest, and what a difference a year makes. Back in January, I read a proclamation that the governing body had approved that declared Morris Township an open and welcoming community. And this is just one of the ways that we walk the walk and not just talk the talk. As I said, what a difference a year makes. We probably more than tripled attendance. I want to thank, the businesses, the local area businesses and allied groups that had come out and set up tables, something that we really didn't have much of last year. The recreation department was absolutely an incredible pleasure to work with. got us T-shirts, entertainment, a DJ, and I am looking forward to stepping aside and letting a group of citizen volunteers lead the effort, in the coming years. Because it's near and dear to me, I'll stay involved in it, but I'm going to let others who could take this to the next level do that as I move on to other projects. So I just wanted to thank everybody again. The mayor was part of the team, and I think I could say it was just a real
it was
solid success. So
Great.
looking forward to our third annual Pride Fest next year. Any members of the public wishing to be on the committee can contact us. The more the merrier. We had a great group of people, and we couldn't have done it without them because they were solid. And with that, just going to say, when you're going about your business out there during the day, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, because you never know what kind of difference your kindness is going to make in somebody's day. Mayor?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Grayzel.
Thank you, Mayor. I always like to point out the investments that our governing body is making in the infrastructure of our town, and there were a number of resolutions tonight. 143 dealt with Harder Road, which is going to get a resurfacing. Then we had 153, 154, and 155. Sorry, 150. Sorry, I got that wrong. 143 had to do with Gaston Road, and the reason why Gaston Road project is being extended is because, thankfully, the water department is addressing a water main issue before it actually happens, and they're going to replace a water main on Gaston Road. So we're getting a double infrastructure project there, and that we're getting a replaced water main on Gaston Road, and then we're going to resurface the roadway and clean it up. On 153, it's the annual overlay program. I was just looking on the website, Tim, to see if we have a list of the streets. Have we determined that yet?
Yes, it is. We have that. It's going out municipal messenger.
Okay. Okay, so it'll be going out shortly in the municipal messengers, and you'll see which streets.
The funding that it's
Right.
all set to go.
Right, so now that we put the funding in place, we're going to alert the public which streets are going to be resurfaced this year. So take a look out for that. The crack ceiling is 154, so investing in those roadways that have the minor cracks and filling them up. And then the 155 is the Harder Road resurfacing. There's a survey job that's going out. That project is got a little bit delayed also, but again, we're going to be resurfacing the entirety of that roadway too. So I always like to point out the investment that our town is making in the infrastructure of our town. I have no other committee reports. I just have some general commentary. I wanted to commend Committeeman Ravitz on the great job that you guys did, you and the team did on the Pride Fest. I was amazed when I showed up. I couldn't believe how great it looked. So congratulations on that, and looking forward to next year. Yeah, it was really nice. Thank you, Mr. Jonnada, for congratulating me on the election. I appreciate that. I was unopposed, but it's still nice to be congratulated. But I do want to say it was really nice to see democracy at work here in the state of New Jersey with the governor's primary election. There were 6 Democrats that ran and 4 Republicans that ran, and it was just wonderful to see the voters in the state finally have a choice. We haven't had much choice on a lot of things at those higher level offices, but this one was a very contested race, and it was great to see democracy at work. I congratulate our Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill on her victory as the Democratic nominee, and Jack Chitterelli as the Republican nominee, and look forward to another race over the next few months between those two, up until Election Day in November, to decide who's going to be the next leader of our state. So congratulations to both of those, and congratulations, I think, to democracy here in New Jersey. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, for sure. My remarks will be pretty quick as well. I do want to say about the Pride Fest, and again, Committeeman Ravitz is so good about, and it was a real team effort, but I do have to, like everybody else, give Committeeman Ravitz the credit for starting this a year ago and the effort that was put in this year, because it was under your direction and what came together with the help too of Alexis in Parks and Rec and Tim Quinn and a lot of others that were there to support. And we had a lot of young residents that came along. But please, Committeeman Ravitz, you deserve the credit for doing a job well done. So
Thank you, Mayor.
appreciate that you're sharing that with others, but really.
Committeeman Jonnada and Deputy Mayor for also mentioning it.
I will forward that.
It's unanimous.
So I just want to bring you up to speed a little bit on Transportation Advisory Committee. Our last meeting, it was nice to see. We had residents that all came in. They did come in because there had been an accident at the Normandy Parkway Bridge there, and they had concerns, but we do encourage our residents to come in, not only when something like that happens, but they should also come in to talk about any improvements that they see. There were several of them that did express that they loved the new sidewalks. They loved a lot of the work that was put in along Normandy Parkway, but there is still work to do. We are doing everything we can to continue to make that as safe as possible. And we will work with our partners, New Jersey Transit and with Morristown, to help try to make that more safe and more secure as we go forward. We also talked to TAC a little bit about having bike parking at our pools and some other locations, trying to encourage more both kids and adults to get out on their bikes when possible. And I had never heard about a bike bus, but one of the members of TAC actually puts this together where some municipalities do it on the way to school, and they get adults to ride with their children. And it's kind of like you go through the neighborhood on the way and pick up others, and you make it's like a big bike bus. So it's safe, and there are adults getting the kids to and from school. We talked about the Collinsville upgrade with the crosswalks, and Betty Simmons, who is on the Transportation Advisory Committee with us, that is her neighborhood, and she was talking about how she thinks it might be a good idea, which TAC will try to do this, to go around and do kind of a look at all the crosswalks, have a crosswalk audit and see which ones, some of them are faded. We do know our guys are always out looking at them, but when you are out or around, any resident, if you see something or an area where there's improvement, let us know. We like that input. We also received from Madison an e-bike draft ordinance, and this has gone to our police chief, Shear, to look over, and we'll get it at some point. We're not ready yet. We're not the only municipality. There's about 4 of us that are all looking at this. We're waiting for some information from the state, but we are also have the concerns about e-bikes and e-scooters, and that there really aren't regulations in place. So we know that will be coming at some point. The next Morris Township in Motion event is called Men into Marketplace. It's on June 28th at 10 a.m. It starts at Menon Arena, and it will be a walk through the new walkway there all the way through the marketplace. On the Economic Development Advisory Committee, we are working on a form. I mentioned this last time, but we are trying to get a form together where we will honor a small business. So as soon as we get that, we can start to have recommendations coming in. That's something that we're looking forward to. And on our Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, they continue to work on a health fair that they're going to have on September on the 27th at the Fairchild Firehouse. They've had a great response from vendors who want to attend. And one of the other interesting things the seniors are talking about, there's been some information put out on how sharing AI can help seniors with loneliness. So that's an interesting concept and something we're going to look at as well. There will be a presentation sponsored by the Morris Township Health Department, the Morristown and Morris Township Municipal Alliance, and the Mayor's Wellness Campaign on June 24th at noon at Town Hall. And there will be this Saturday from 11:30 to 1:30, Coffee with the Mayor, which is usually held at one of our firehouses, will be held at Tucker Field. And we're encouraging anyone who wants to come out. You're welcome to come anytime between those 2 hours. But we are going to have a Collinsville update, and we're encouraging everybody who lives in that area to come out. And we will have an interpreter there who speaks Spanish. So we encourage our Spanish-speaking residents to please come, and we'll provide you with all the information you need, not just about Collinsville, but any concerns that you have in the township. I think you heard tonight, and I just want to encourage all the residents to please understand we will be welcoming more input on affordable housing as we move forward. So please, we encourage you to either come to any of our meetings or provide any of the committee members with any input or feelings that you have as we continue that process. I want to congratulate all the Morristown High School graduates, who I think by now probably that's just about ending, or it might have already ended, but because we had our meeting tonight, we could not represent there. But congratulations to all the Morristown High School seniors that are graduating, and good luck to you and wishing you every success. The last thing I'm going to close with is that it's summer, and I think even as we leave the building tonight, feels a lot different than it did this morning. So please enjoy all of the events that the township puts on. Parks and Rec does do a great job. Our pools are well-staffed. They're both excellent places for your families and friends to go. So be safe and enjoy this time, because the summer flies by so quickly. Thank you. We're going to open up our second public commentary. There are currently 5 attendees joining through Zoom. There are 2 people here in person. We'll begin with comments from those who are here in person first, and then we'll move to Zoom. Please raise your hand on Zoom if you would like to speak. Please state your name and address if you're a resident or non-resident for the record before speaking. Please note that your comments are limited to 5 minutes. If you have questions you would like answered, your remaining time will be yielded back for this purpose. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any members from the public who would like to speak? Seeing no hands raised on Zoom, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 8:22. Can I have a motion to adjourn the regular session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next regular Township Committee meeting will be Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. for the regular meeting, 5 p.m. for closed in the municipal building here at 50 Woodland Avenue. Thank you and have a great night.
Good night.